Late at night, on an empty street, a black man is pulled over by a white police officer. The officer smirks, his words dripping with contempt, his authority wrapped in arrogance. Handcuffs click shut, humiliation follows, and the crowd watches, in silence. But what the officer doesn't know, what no one expects, is that the man he's degrading isn't just another civilian. He's a federal agent, an FBI agent. When the truth shatters the room, silence turns to shock, power flips in an instant, and justice finally begins to breathe. This isn't just a story of one arrest, it's a story of racism, abuse of power, and poetic justice that refuses to be silenced. The street was quiet, bathed in the amber glow of flickering streetlights. Marcus Carter adjusted the radio volume low, the jazz humming like background thoughts. His mother's words still lingered. Drive safe, baby. Don't let them catch you for nothing. Red and blue lights flared in the rearview mirror. Marcus exhaled slowly. Here we go, he whispered. A patrol car swerved behind him, siren chirping once. He pulled to the curb, hands resting clearly on the steering wheel. The officer approached, tall, broad, pale skin glowing under the streetlight. His badge read Daniels, license and registration. Daniels barked. Marcus nodded, calm. Of course, officer. May I reach into my glove compartment? Daniels's eyes narrowed. Don't get smart with me. Just do it. Marcus moved carefully, placing documents on the dashboard. Daniels glanced at them, smirking. Marcus Carter. Where you headed? Home, sir. This your car? Yes, sir. Daniels leaned closer, flashlight blinding Marcus's eyes. Funny, you look nervous. Got something to hide? Marcus's jaw tightened. Just tired, sir. Long day. Daniels chuckled. Long day of what? Selling something? Running with the wrong crowd? Silence. Marcus didn't flinch. Daniels tapped the hood. Step out of the vehicle. May I ask the reason? Officer, you matched a description. Black male. Driving late. That enough for you? Marcus inhaled, then opened the door slowly. His shoes scraped the pavement. Daniels circled him, eyes scanning like he was prey. Spread your arms. You know the drill. Marcus did. Daniels frisked him roughly, muttering, always the same. Act polite, but deep down you're all the same. Marcus's breath caught, but he didn't respond. His silence spoke louder than words. From a porch nearby, a neighbor whispered. Phone camera raised. The lens glinted. Empty your pockets, Daniels ordered. Marcus obeyed. Wallet, keys, nothing else. Daniels sneered. Traveling light tonight? Huh, yes, sir. Don't sir me. Think that makes you less suspicious. Marcus met his gaze. No officer, just showing respect. Daniels's lips curled. Respect. We'll see how long that lasts. The sirens still pulsed in Marcus's chest, but his face stayed calm. Inside, his thoughts ran sharp. Stay quiet, stay measured. This man wants you rattled. Daniels leaned close, whispering words sharp enough to slice. People like you never learn. Tonight, I'll teach you. The cold night air carried the sharp smell of asphalt and engine fumes. Marcus stood still by his car, the faint buzz of a street lamp overhead. His pulse stayed even, but his jaw was set like stone. Hands behind your head, Officer Daniels ordered, his voice loud enough for the entire block to hear. Marcus obeyed without hesitation. Turn around. Slowly. Yes, officer. Daniels's flashlight sliced across Marcus's face, then swept toward the empty street. But they weren't alone anymore. Curtains shifted in nearby windows. A porch light blinked on. A woman's voice whispered to someone inside. Record this. Don't you stop filming. Marcus caught the faint reflection of a phone camera on the porch across the street. A lifeline, silent but powerful. Daniels seemed to sense it too. His smirk widened. Oh good, an audience. Maybe they'll finally see how dangerous you people are. Marcus's lips parted, a sharp breath slipping free. With respect, officer, I haven't done anything wrong. Daniels stepped closer, his nose inches from Marcus's cheek. That's where you're wrong. Breathing in my city after dark is wrong. The words sank like a stone in water. Another patrol car rolled up, tires crunching the gravel. Two more. Officers stepped out, one older, cautious in his stride, the other younger, eyes darting nervously between Daniels and Marcus. Daniels waved them over. Got a live one here. Fits the profile. The younger cop hesitated. What profile? Daniels shot him a glare. The kind that never ends well. Marcus kept his voice steady. Sir, I'd like to know why I'm being detained. You don't get to ask questions, Daniels snapped. You answer them, or don't. Makes no difference. Either way, you're going in. The older officer shifted, lowering his voice. Daniels, maybe we should. Daniels cut him off. I said, he's going in. Marcus swallowed the heat in his chest, forcing calm. Officer, please. I've complied with every instruction. You have no grounds. Daniels's hand shot forward, shoving Marcus hard against the car hood. Metal clanged under the force. Grounds. You think I need grounds? His voice rose, a bitter snarl. The ground is under my boots, and you're under me. The cuffs clicked cold around Marcus's wrists. From the porch came gasps. The camera, phone trembling in someone's hand. The younger cop muttered, Daniels. Easy, he's not resisting. Daniels ignored him, tightening the cuffs until Marcus winced. This one's slick. Look at him, clean car, polite voice. That's how they fool you. Marcus kept his voice low, controlled. Sir, you're making a mistake. Daniels leaned close, breath hot and bitter. The only mistake here was you thinking you belong in my streets. The words cut sharper than the cuffs. The older officer shifted again, guilt flickering across his face. But silence pinned him down like chains. Marcus stared at the reflection in the windshield, his own eyes, calm but burning, and Daniels's looming figure behind him, a predator dressed as law. Let's move, Daniels barked. He yanked Marcus, upright, dragging him toward the patrol car. Neighbors' voices rose now, braver, wise. He in cuffs, he didn't do nothing. Leave that man alone. We're recording everything. Daniels spun, eyes flashing red with fury. Shut your mouths, or I'll add you to the report. The crowd didn't stop. Whispers became murmurs, murmurs became chants. We're watching, we're watching. Marcus drew strength from it, not defiance, but resolve. His silence spoke louder than shouting. Daniels shoved him into the back seat. Enjoy the ride, Carter. Jail looks good on you. Marcus's reply was steady, almost too calm. We'll see who it looks good on. Daniels slammed the door, jaw tightening at the words he didn't understand yet. The patrol car pulled away. Behind them, the porch cameras kept rolling, red lights blinking like beacons of truth. Marcus leaned back, wrists aching, eyes fixed on the rearview mirror. He saw Daniels's reflection, smug, victorious, and let a single thought burn quietly in his mind. Not tonight, not ever again. The fluorescent lights of the precinct buzzed like angry wasps, harsh and unyielding. Daniels marched Marcus through the doors, grip firm on his arm, as though parading a trophy. Another one off the streets, Daniels muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear. Officers at nearby desks looked up. Some frowned. Others quickly looked back down at their paperwork. Marcus kept his shoulders square, refusing to let the weight of the cuffs bend him. A booking officer stepped forward, brows furrowed. What's the charge? Daniels smirked. Suspicious vehicle. Possible narcotics. Possible stolen car. You know the usual. Marcus's voice was calm. My registration is valid. My license is clean. There are no narcotics. Daniels yanked him forward. Don't listen to him. They all say that. The booking officer's eyes flickered uneasily between Marcus's steady gaze and Daniels's sneer. But he said nothing, just motioned toward the holding area. As they walked past the cells, voices erupted. What's he in for? Another brother, huh? Keep your head up, man. Marcus offered a faint nod to the unseen voices. His silence was not weakness, it was armor. Daniels shoved him toward a bench, the metal cuffs clanging against the seat. Sit down and shut up. Marcus sat, wrists aching. His calm unnerved Daniels more than resistance ever could. Daniels leaned close, whispering so only Marcus could hear. You think you're better than the rest. You think your big words and polite manners make you special. You're still just another one to me. Marcus turned his head, eyes steady. Respect costs you nothing, officer, but hate will cost you everything. Daniels's jaw tightened. He stepped back, covering his discomfort with a bark of laughter. Hear that? He's a philosopher. Several officers glanced over. No one laughed. Marcus studied their faces. Some looked away in shame. Others looked frozen, trapped in silence by a system that rewarded obedience over justice. Daniels paced like a showman. You know what happens to men like you. You slip up once, and the world sees you for what you are. Criminals. Always criminals. Marcus asked quietly. And men like you. Daniels stopped pacing. His voice dropped low, venomous. Men like me write the reports. Men like me make sure your story never gets heard. The words echoed, heavy as chains. Marcus lowered his gaze briefly, then lifted it again with quiet fire. Not tonight, Daniels sneered. Big talk for someone in cuffs. Another officer, the younger one from the street, cleared his throat. Daniels, maybe we should stay out of it. Daniels snapped, cutting him off. You're still green. Watch and learn. Marcus met the younger officer's eyes. There was hesitation there, a flicker of conscience, but fear sealed his lips. Daniels pulled out a clipboard, scribbling exaggerated notes, resisted instructions, possible gang ties, smelled of alcohol. Marcus spoke evenly, each word measured. That's false. Daniels smirked. Who you think they'll believe, the decorated officer or the man in cuffs? For the first time, Marcus allowed a small smile. The truth has a way of catching up. Daniels froze for half a second, then laughed too loud. You hear this guy? Truth, cute. The humiliation continued, fingerprinting, mugshots, every step exaggerated to remind Marcus of his supposed place. Daniels made sure to add commentary at every stage. Look at him pose like he's in a magazine. Bet you've done this before, huh? Smile for the camera. Superstar. Marcus never rose to the bait. His silence was a blade, sharp, patient, waiting. When the paperwork ended, Daniels shoved Marcus into a holding cell. The iron door clanged shut with finality. You'll be here a while, Daniels said, leaning against the bars. Plenty of time to think about how far respect got you. Marcus finally spoke, voice calm but cutting. Respect got me here alive. That's more than you realize. Daniels's smirk faltered for the briefest moment. Then he spat on the floor and walked away, leaving Marcus in the cold glow of the cell. The narrator's voice, quiet, almost like a whisper to the reader, cut through the silence. This is how systems survive. Through silence, through complicity, through the fear that keeps good men watching from the shadows. But tonight, silence would break, and fear would find a new master. Marcus sat on the hard bench, wrists marked by red lines from the cuffs. He closed his eyes, steadying his breath. He wasn't broken. He was waiting. And soon, waiting would end. The cell door screeched open. Daniels strutted in, holding a styrofoam cup of coffee like a king with his goblet. Hope you're comfortable, he sneered. This might be your new home. Marcus sat on the bench, posture steady. Office, I'd like to make my phone call. Daniels laughed, sipping loudly. You think this is TV? You don't just snap your fingers and get rights. You'll call when I say you can call. Marcus tilted his head slightly. Then I'll wait. But when I do call, you're going to wish I hadn't. The younger officer from earlier, Officer Miller, appeared in the doorway, hesitation etched across his face. Daniels, policy says he's entitled to. Daniels cut him off. Policy bends. We'll process him later. Marcus rose slowly to his feet, the overhead light catching his calm expression. Contact Agent Marcus Carter, Federal Bureau of Investigation. The words hit the room like a thunderclap. Miller blinked. FBI. Daniels scoffed, nearly choking on his coffee. Oh, that's rich. Now you're an agent. What's next, President Carter? Marcus's tone didn't waver. Check the database. My credentials are on file. Special Agent, Organized Crime Division. Miller shifted uncomfortably, pulling out a tablet. What if he's telling the truth? Daniels snapped. He's not. He's bluffing. They always bluff. Marcus stepped closer to the bars, his voice steady but firm. Run the name. You'll see. Miller hesitated, fingers tapping the screen. Daniels paced, muttering curses under his breath. The silence stretched, thick as concrete. Then Miller's eyes widened, his voice cracked. It's real. He's in the system. Daniels froze. What? Miller swallowed hard. Marcus Carter, FBI, active clearance. It's him. The color drained from Daniels's face, though he fought to hide it behind anger. No, this is some kind of trick. Marcus's gaze locked onto him, calm and unblinking. The only trick here, officer, is that you thought you could break me without consequence. Daniels's coffee cup trembled in his hand. He slammed it down, liquid splattering across the floor. You think that badge makes you untouchable? You think this changes what I saw in you? Marcus's reply was measured, razor-sharp. It changes everything. Because now, what you said, what you did, isn't just cruel, it's evidence. The other officers nearby shifted uncomfortably. The room felt like it was tilting, gravity pulling away from Daniels. Marcus stepped back, folding his arms calmly. I gave you every chance to treat me with dignity. I complied. I respected. And still, you chose hate. Daniels's face reddened, sweat breaking on his temple. Shut up. Miller's voice shook. Daniels, this is serious. We need to shut up. Daniels barked, but his voice cracked. Marcus lowered his tone, so steady it carried like iron. Every insult, every false charge, every witness who recorded tonight. It's over, Daniels. The silence that followed was suffocating. For the first time, Daniels didn't look like a man in control. He looked cornered, and Marcus looked free. The bullpen was suddenly too quiet, as if the walls themselves were listening. Daniels stood stiff, face pale, fists clenched. Miller kept glancing at the tablet in his hand. It's real. He's FBI. His credentials match the federal database. Whispers rippled through the room. A desk officer muttered, "Holy hell." Another leaned back in his chair, eyes wide. Marcus remained composed, hands loosely folded. His voice even, "I tried to tell you. You refused to listen." Daniels's laugh came out broken, too sharp. Credentials can be faked. I've seen it before. Marcus raised a brow. Then confirm it. Call your sergeant. Call your captain. Call whoever you want. The truth won't change. Daniels turned on Miller. Don't just stand there. Call headquarters. Prove it. Miller hesitated. Daniels, it already checked out. His clearance is active. If we call, we're just confirming. Let's do it. Daniels snapped, voice cracking with desperation. Marcus stepped closer to the bars. His tone was calm but carried weight. Each word deliberate. You're scrambling because you know the truth. You know exactly what you did tonight. And now there's no erasing it. Daniels's eyes darted around the room. He wanted backup. But the other officers stayed silent, watching. Marcus continued, his voice dropping to a razor edge. You pulled me over without cause. You frisked me. You humiliated me. And you filled a report with lies. All while calling me things I won't repeat. You did it because you thought no one would stop you. Daniels barked back, louder than he needed to be. You resisted. You fit the profile. Marcus tilted his head. The profile. Black man. Late night. Driving home from his mother's house. A murmur rippled among the officers. Daniels's face burned red. Marcus pressed on, measured and relentless. You told me respect meant nothing, that my words meant nothing. But your words, every slur, every false claim, they mean everything now. They're evidence. Daniels slammed his palm against the bars. You think you're untouchable because you've got a badge. My gaze didn't waver. No, I think the law applies to everyone, even you. Silence fell heavy. The sergeant finally entered, face grim. What the hell is going on in here? Miller rushed forward, holding out the tablet. Sarge. Daniels brought in Marcus Carter. Special Agent Carter. FBI. The sergeant froze. His eyes flicked to Marcus, then to Daniels. His jaw clenched. Is this true? Marcus spoke first. Yes. And I've remained calm the entire time. The rest, your cameras and your officers can confirm. Daniels stammered. He's twisting. He's making it sound worse than it was. The sergeant's voice was cold steel. Daniels, did you verify cause for the arrest? Daniels opened his mouth, then shut it. His tongue fumbled for excuses, but the silence condemned him louder than any words could. Marcus stepped forward, his tone sharp but calm. For hours, I let you talk. I let you show who you are without saying a word myself. Do you know why? Daniels glared. Because you had nothing to defend yourself with. Marcus shook his head. Because I wanted the truth to reveal itself, and it has. Every insult, every abuse, witnessed, recorded, documented. Miller swallowed hard. He's right, Daniels. People were filming on the street. It's already out there. Daniels spun on him, wild-eyed. Shut up. You don't know anything. The sergeant's voice cut through. Enough. Daniels stepped back for the first time. Daniels did not move with authority. His shoulders sagged under the weight of his own undoing. Marcus looked him in the eye, unflinching. You tried to strip me of dignity. But tonight, you stripped yourself of honor. That's the difference between us. The words hung like a gavel's strike. The room stayed silent, every officer watching the collapse. Daniels's chest heaved, rage and fear tangled in his breath. Marcus finally stepped back, calm, returning to his face. This doesn't end here. Accountability rarely does, but it starts here. The sergeant nodded grimly. Daniels, My office. Now. Daniels's jaw worked, but no words came. He turned, each step heavier than the last, disappearing down the hallway like a man walking toward his own sentence. The bullpen remained frozen, the echo of Marcus's words filling the air, and, for the first time all night, Marcus felt the weight of silence shift, not against him, but in his favor. The morning sun hadn't yet burned through the haze when the storm began. Phones buzzed across the city. Headlines flashed. Black man arrested by local police was FBI agent. Bodycam footage reveals racial slurs during unlawful arrest. Clips from bystanders circulated online. Daniels's voice, raw with arrogance, carried across millions of screens. You think you're someone, you're nothing. The internet devoured it. Inside the station, Marcus sat at a table in the conference room, still calm, still composed. His suit jacket had been returned to him. Across from him sat the sergeant, Miller, and 2 officers from Internal Affairs. The sergeant rubbed his temples. This is out of control. We've got reporters outside, civil rights groups calling nonstop, and the mayor's office breathing down our necks. Marcus folded his hands. What did you expect? The truth doesn't stay buried anymore. Miller looked uneasy. The video, it's everywhere. Millions of views already. Daniels, he's the face of it now. The Internal Affairs officer leaned forward. Agent Carter, we'll need your official statement. But we also need your cooperation to keep this contained. Marcus's brow lifted. Contained? You mean quiet? The officer hesitated. Public outrage can spiral. Protests, riots. Marcus's voice cut through like steel. So the concern is unrest, not justice. Silence. The sergeant sighed. Agent Carter, I won't lie. The department looks bad. Real bad. Daniels's actions are indefensible. But if this turns into a media circus, the entire force suffers. Marcus leaned back, eyes sharp. The force suffers because Daniels was allowed to act unchecked, because silence made space for violence. That's not on me. That's on you. Miller shifted in his seat, guilt etched across his face. A knock rattled the door. A young officer peeked in. Sir, there's a crowd forming outside. The sergeant's jaw tightened. How big? Dozens now. Chants. Signs. It's growing by the minute. The sergeant dismissed him, then looked back at Marcus. This isn't just about Daniels anymore. It's about perception. Marcus's tone was steady, but each word landed like a hammer. Perception is reality. And the reality is one of your officers humiliated a federal agent because of the color of his skin. That's the story. That's what people see. Miller spoke softly, almost a confession. They're calling him the racist cop. Marcus didn't flinch. And what do they call me? Miller hesitated. The man who stood his ground. A faint smile tugged at Marcus's lips. Good, then they understand. The Internal Affairs officer cleared his throat. Agent Carter, do you intend to press charges? Marcus's eyes burned with quiet fire. Do you really need to ask? The room went still. Outside, the crowd grew. Signs rose in the air. Justice for all. Stop police racism. Cameras flashed as reporters swarmed, demanding statements. Daniels, escorted through a side hallway, could hear the roar of chants bleeding through the walls. His face was ghostly white. This is insane. They don't know the full story. His attorney muttered. They know enough. Your words are on every screen in America. Daniels slammed a fist against the wall. I was doing my job. Your job, the attorney said coolly, was to protect. Instead, you exposed the department to its worst nightmare. You handed the FBI a loaded gun. Daniels's chest heaved, his voice breaking. He set me up. He wanted this. But deep down, he knew the truth. He had set himself up. Back in the conference room, Marcus stood as the sergeant returned. His tone was graver now. Agent Carter, the FBI's already been contacted. Your superiors are demanding full cooperation. Daniels is being suspended effective immediately. Marcus adjusted his tie, his voice low but piercing. Suspended, not arrested. The sergeant avoided his gaze. Internal Affairs will investigate further. Marcus leaned forward, his words cutting. If it were me, would I get an investigation? Or would I already be in a cell? The sergeant had no answer. Marcus let the silence stretch before speaking again, each syllable heavy. Accountability delayed is accountability denied. Remember that. Hours later, Marcus stepped outside the precinct. The crowd erupted. Reporters surged forward, microphones flashing like weapons. Agent Carter, do you plan to sue the department? Do you think Daniels represents a systemic issue? Will you testify before Congress if called? Marcus raised a hand, and the noise hushed slightly. His voice was firm, carrying over the crowd. I was arrested because of the color of my skin. I was humiliated because someone believed a badge gave him the right to degrade me. But I am not just one man. This is bigger than me. This is about everyone who has been silenced, dismissed, or violated because of prejudice, hiding behind authority. That ends here. That ends now. The crowd roared. Daniels, watching from the upstairs window, felt the walls closing in. Every chant outside was a nail in the coffin of his career, and Marcus, standing strong before flashing cameras, knew the exposure was only the beginning. The city had turned into a mirror, reflecting every detail of the scandal. News vans lined the courthouse steps. Social media boiled with hashtags. Hashtag justice for Marcus. Hashtag racist cop. Hashtag FBI exposed. Inside the station, Daniel sat across from his union representative, tie loosened, sweat clinging to his temples. His once firm voice trembled. They're painting me as a monster, he muttered. I've given 20 years to this badge. 20 years. The rep shook his head. Doesn't matter. Those recordings, those slurs, they're undeniable. You're toxic now. Nobody wants to defend you. Daniels slammed his palm against the table. I was doing my job. He provoked me. The rep's eyes narrowed. An FBI agent provoked you. That's your defense. Because to the public, you look like a man who couldn't control his hate. And the department, they'll cut you loose too. Save themselves. Daniels's voice cracked. I've seen guys worse than me walk free. Why me? Why now? The rep sighed. Because the whole world's watching. Meanwhile, Marcus sat in his FBI field office, surrounded by colleagues who treated him with a newfound reverence. His supervisor, Director Vaughn, leaned forward, voice calm but firm. You handled yourself with restraint most wouldn't manage. You didn't lash out. Didn't compromise your position. That's why this story resonates. Marcus shook his head. Resonates. It shouldn't have to. I wasn't special that night. I was just another black man pulled over for existing. The only difference is, I had a badge they didn't know about. Vaughn studied him. You've become a symbol, whether you want to be or not. Marcus looked down, voice heavy. Symbols don't bleed. People do. And I'm tired of bleeding for the lesson to stick. Back in the precinct, Daniels was summoned to face the review board. The panel of captains and internal affairs officers sat like judges. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but the gravity of the moment was undeniable. The lead captain spoke. Officer Daniels, this board has reviewed the footage, the testimonies, and the subsequent fallout. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Daniels stood, shoulders hunched. I've served this city honorably. I've made arrests that saved lives. I lost my temper that night. But I'm not a racist. I was doing my duty. One captain's eyebrow arched. Your duty included calling a citizen and a federal agent, boy, included mocking his identity, included falsifying cause for arrest. Daniels's face flushed. It was the heat of the moment. Words don't define me. Another captain's voice was ice. Words reveal you, Daniels, and yours revealed more than you wanted. The silence after was suffocating. Outside the hearing, reporters hounded anyone connected. Miller, cornered in the parking lot, faced flashing microphones. Officer Miller, did you witness Daniels's comments firsthand? Did you ever report his behavior before this? Is there a culture of racism inside the precinct? Miller's lips tightened. His silence was answer enough. Cameras devoured it. That night, Daniels turned on the television in his apartment. Every channel was the same. Clips of Marcus speaking with dignity. Clips of Daniels sneering with venom. His own face had become the villain in America's newest morality play. A commentator's voice echoed. This case isn't just about one bad cop. It's about a system that shields men like him until the truth forces its way out. Daniels hurled the remote across the room. The screen went black, but the words lingered. Marcus, meanwhile, sat with his mother in her quiet living room. She clutched his hand tightly. I thought I'd lost you that night, she whispered. I prayed you'd come home safe. But I never imagined this. Marcus's voice softened. Neither did I. She looked into his eyes. You've carried yourself with strength your father would be proud of. But strength can be heavy. Don't let it break you. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. I can't stop. Not now. Too many eyes are on this. Too many lives depend on change that never comes unless someone pushes. She nodded, tears brimming. Then push, baby. But don't lose yourself doing it. The next morning, Daniels arrived at the courthouse for his preliminary hearing. Protesters lined the steps, their chants shaking the air. Justice for Marcus. No more Daniels. Equal under the law. As Daniels pushed through the crowd, cameras captured every step. A reporter shouted, "Officer Daniels, do you regret your words that night?" His jaw tightened. For once, he had no answer. Inside, Marcus entered through another door. He walked past rows of activists, lawyers, and press, his posture upright, his eyes forward. The two men locked eyes across the courtroom. One carried the weight of disgrace, the other carried the burden of becoming a symbol. The judge's gavel struck, calling order. "This is not the trial of law just yet," the judge said. "But make no mistake, reputations are on trial here, and reputations matter." Daniels swallowed hard. For the first time, he realized he wasn't fighting just Marcus, or the FBI, or even the department. He was fighting the truth itself, and the truth was winning. The courtroom buzzed like a hive. Reporters jotted frantic notes, cameras flashed, protesters' chants bled faintly through the courthouse windows. The air was thick with expectation. Daniels sat at the defense table, his posture collapsed, his eyes sunken from sleepless nights. Across the room, Marcus sat calm, suit pressed, his presence steady as stone. The judge adjusted his glasses. "This hearing concerns the charges of unlawful arrest, abuse of authority, and falsification of official reports. Officer Daniels, you will have the chance to respond." Daniels's lawyer nudged him. "Say something, anything." Daniels stood shakily, his voice cracked. I was doing my job. I didn't know he was FBI. I made a mistake." Gasps rippled, Marcus's head lifted, gaze piercing. The judge leaned forward. "A mistake. The record shows repeated racial slurs, fabricated justifications, and an attempt to cover it in your report. That is not a mistake, Officer Daniels. That is willful misconduct." Daniels's lips trembled. "I didn't mean." Marcus finally spoke, his voice calm but cutting. "You didn't mean to get caught." The room fell silent. Daniels's eyes darted to Marcus, desperate, pleading. "You don't understand the pressure." Marcus's tone sharpened. "Pressure doesn't make a man racist. Pressure doesn't make him abuse power. That comes from choice." The judge rapped his gavel once. Order outside the courthouse steps swelled with protesters. Their voices echoed into the chamber. "Justice now. Justice now." Reporters whispered about the FBI's involvement, about the mayor's statements condemning Daniels, about the police union's silence. Public opinion had already handed down its verdict. The prosecutor called Marcus to the stand. He walked with measured steps, the crowd watching intently. Taking the oath, he sat tall, meeting the prosecutor's gaze. "Agent Carter." The prosecutor began. "Can you recount what happened the night of your arrest?" Marcus's voice was steady, but every word carried weight. "I was driving home from my mother's house. Officer Daniels pulled me over without cause. He accused me of crimes I didn't commit. He insulted me. He searched me. He humiliated me, not because of what I did, but because of what I look like." Daniels flinched. Marcus continued. "I revealed my identity only after hours of abuse, because I wanted the truth to show itself, and it did, on camera, in front of witnesses." His words condemn him, not mine. The prosecutor nodded. "Thank you, Agent Carter." The judge looked toward Daniels. "Do you wish to cross-examine?" Daniels's lawyer whispered urgently. "Don't. You'll bury yourself deeper." But Daniels stood anyway. "Agent Carter, you think you're some kind of hero. You think because you wear a federal badge, you're better than me." Marcus's gaze was cool, unwavering. "No, I think because I wear a badge, I should uphold the law. That's the difference between us." The courtroom erupted. The judge's gavel slammed. "Order." Hours later, after arguments and testimonies, the judge returned with his decision. "Officer Daniels," his voice rang firm, "your actions dishonor your badge, your department, and this court. You are hereby stripped of your position, pending criminal charges. Your name will not be remembered as protector, but as abuser of power. Justice requires no less." Daniels's knees buckled. His lawyer caught his arm, but the weight of disgrace pulled harder. Marcus exhaled slowly, not in triumph but in release. The scales had tipped. Outside, as Daniels was escorted past reporters, microphones thrust toward him. Do you regret your actions? Do you have anything to say to Agent Carter? For the first time, Daniels had no words. The man who once roared with arrogance now walked in silence. Drowned by the noise of justice. Marcus stepped outside a different door. The crowd erupted in cheers. Reporters surged forward. Agent Carter, what does this verdict mean to you? Marcus raised a hand, his voice strong enough to carry us. Was never just about me. It was about every person humiliated, silenced, or dismissed because of prejudice. Today's verdict doesn't erase the pain, but it proves that truth can rise. And when it does, justice follows. The crowd roared. That evening, Marcus sat quietly. On his mother's porch, the night air was cool, the stars distant but steady. His mother joined him, handing him a cup of tea. It's over now. Marcus shook his head. For Daniels, yes. For the system, not yet. She squeezed his hand gently. You can't fix it all, Marcus. He looked at her, a tired smile forming. Maybe not, but I can make sure it doesn't break me. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to breathe freely. Somewhere across town, Daniels sat alone in his dark apartment, his badge gone, his career shattered, his name cursed in headlines. The silence that once empowered him now devoured him. That was the true justice, poetic justice. Months later, the nation still remembered. Marcus stood at a polished wooden podium in Washington, the chamber of Congress buzzing with anticipation. Cameras rolled live, broadcasting to millions. Behind him, banners declared, oversight hearing, on policing and civil rights. He adjusted the microphone, voice steady, but charged with quiet conviction. On the night I was arrested, I wasn't seen as an agent of the law. I wasn't seen as a son, a brother, a man. I was seen as a threat because of the color of my skin. That truth isn't mine alone. It belongs to countless others who never had a badge to reveal, who never had a chance to be believed. Their stories must not stay buried. Our duty is to ensure that dignity is never conditional. Applause rippled through the chamber. Some lawmakers wiped their eyes. Marcus's words were entered into the congressional record, history inked in resilience. Far away, in a small, dim apartment on the edge of the city, Daniels sat hunched over a flickering television. His hair had grayed faster, his eyes hollow. The man once feared on the streets was now a ghost in his own life. The news anchor's voice cut through the static. Former Officer Daniels declined to comment on the FBI agent's testimony today. Since his dismissal, Daniels has avoided public appearances. He turned off the screen, staring into the silence. No reporters knocked on his door anymore. No colleagues called. His name was no longer spoken with respect, only with contempt, or not at all. For Daniels, obscurity was the harshest sentence. In the months that followed, Marcus became a keynote voice at universities, civil rights forums, and law enforcement conferences. His story became case study and cautionary tale alike. Students quoted his testimony. Activists carried his words on placards. But when asked what kept him grounded, Marcus always gave the same answer: my mother's prayers and the truth. I refused to surrender. Years later, the case was still remembered, not as the scandal of one man, but as the spark that pushed reforms forward. Training protocols shifted, oversight tightened, and every time Marcus spoke, people listened. Daniels faded further into anonymity, his name surviving only in footnotes of policy reports and old headlines. Marcus's name, however, lived on in a different way, as a reminder that dignity, once defended, could echo louder than any act of hate. And so, the story of one night, one arrest, one humiliation, one revelation became part of the nation's story, a story of justice, a story of change, a story of poetic justice.